Good afternoon, and thanks for attending today's webinar on transitioning to retirement. We will give everyone a few minutes to join the webinar and we'll commence shortly. So we'll be back in a moment. Thank you.
Hello, everybody.
Yep.
Hello. Hello.
Thank you.
Hello.
I can see more people coming
Hi.
into the
Hello.
meeting. So if you are able to put yourself on mute and turn your camera off for today's session, and we'll be able to have a Q&A at the end where you can ask questions if you wish as well. All right, I can see some more people coming through the waiting room, so I will kick off as we've just clicked over 12 o'clock. So good afternoon, my name is Kelly Barnes and I am an account manager here at Brighter Super. And the main part of my role is to guide our valued members towards a comfortable retirement by giving them a better understanding of what they can do with their superannuation. Now, by the end of today's webinar, we aim to give you some of the tools that you can use to get yourself on track for ideal retirement. Now, I'll be asking some questions as we go through the webinar to help you get a better understanding of the content as well. Now, before I go ahead, Brighter Super acknowledges the traditional owners of the lands on which we are meeting today and pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. We acknowledge and celebrate the continuation of a living culture that has a unique role in this region. So it is important to understand that the information and examples contained in today's presentation are general in nature and have been prepared without taking into account your individual objectives, financial situation, or needs. It is important when making decisions about super options that you obtain the relevant product disclosure statement and target market determination and consider your own personal circumstances. You can access these documents and more, much more, like the Financial Services Guide from the Brighter Super website. Now, today's presentation will run for about 45 minutes. Many of you have submitted questions already, which have been, you can also pop questions in the Q&A feature during our presentation today, which we will aim to answer directly if we can. We have Peter Hoban also standing by as our moderator today. Now, Peter has been with the fund for about 10 years and he's regularly out and about providing appointments and super health checks with members in different regions all over Queensland.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm looking forward to answering any questions that you might have. Just a reminder, you can send these through using the Q&A feature on your screen at any point during this presentation. Thanks, Kelly.
Thanks, Pete. So as you said, we should have some time for questions at the end and we'll answer as many as possible. We're also joined today by one of our financial advisors, Callum Van Meegen, who will be presenting a bit later on as well. We'll be running some poll questions throughout today's presentation. When the question pops up on your screen, please just click on an answer that is appropriate to you. Now, before we move into our main subject, I would like to take the opportunity to briefly explain who we are, as we do have some non-members joining us today. Now, the merger between LGIA Super and Energy Super, plus the acquisition of Suncorp Super, has enabled us to increase our size and scale, yet we remain committed to investing in the personalised member services that you know and enjoy. We serve over 230,000 members with over 32 billion in funds under management. And we received double-digit returns for the balanced accumulation and balanced pension options for the year of 30 June 2024, which we're very happy about and very excited to share. So now let's talk more about retirement planning. Now, one of the most common questions around retirement planning is how much do I need to retire? I'm sure you're asking yourself that all the time. If you're not sure how much you need, then the As for Retirement Standards is one guide to start with because it can give you a bit of an understanding around what people might look to have. So the Association of Superannuation Funds Australia, also known as ASFA, regularly survey retirees once per quarter who have paid off their mortgage and age over the age of 65 to see how much they're spending. From that research, they've identified two types of lifestyles in retirement, modest and comfortable. For retirees living a modest lifestyle, it's probably going to be fairly conservative. Based on the ASFA's research, they've defined a modest lifestyle, which may include the following: takeaway and occasional cheap restaurants, infrequent domestic short breaks, basic private health insurance, and owning a cheaper, more basic car. It's unlikely there'll be money to travel overseas, and social activities will be closer to home. My apologies, I just scrolled the mouse. Take a minute to think about how much you're currently spending on your own lifestyle and how much it compares to the above. These figures are updated on a quarterly basis. So, what does a comfortable lifestyle look like? Now, most members that I assist are looking forward to a lifestyle with a few more options. Based on ASFA's research, they've defined a comfortable lifestyle, which may include some of the following: annual domestic and occasional overseas travel, usually around every 7 years, they say. Social activities, including eating out 2 to 3 times a week. Maintaining a vehicle and home. Mid-level private medical insurance. Again, I'd like you to take a moment to think about what type of retirement lifestyle you're aiming for. Now, remember, it's not always about how much money you have, it's also how you manage it, and which may be an early action, where early action might be vital as well. The good news is you can choose to retire whenever suits you. There are, however, rules as to when you can access your superannuation, which we'll chat about. So to access your super, you must have reached preservation age, which is between 55 and 60, depending on your date of birth. We'll take a look at that shortly. You can usually access your super as a lump sum, as a pension, or as a combination of the two. When you permanently retire after reaching your preservation age, reach age 60 and then stop work or change jobs, or you turn age 65, whether you are working or not. The amount of tax you pay depends on your age at the time you withdraw money from super, the type of contribution that's paid in, pre or post-tax, and the amount being paid out, and whether you're taking it as a lump sum or a pension. Now, onto our first poll question. Do you know your preservation age? I'll take a moment for you to answer. All right, some good numbers coming in. All right, it's looking like most people do know their preservation age, which is great because that is kind of the first step to really understand when you can access your funds. For those of you who don't know, we will find out on the next page. Now, generally, your super is tax-free when paid to you after the age of 60, but let's have a look at that age that we are eligible to access our funds. Now, referring back to the poll question, this information on the screen will show you that preservation age, and this is set out by the Australian government based on your date of birth. So take a moment to confirm yours. For most people in this financial year, it would be age 60, but obviously just have a look through that graph there. Remember, there are 2 parts to accessing your superannuation. Firstly, you must meet your preservation age, which we can see on the screen here. You can determine what that is. And secondly, you need to have met a condition of release. So let's have a look into those in a little bit more detail. As super is primarily designed to give you income in retirement, there are specific rules relating to when you can access your money. So the first rule is permanent retirement. You've finished work and you have no intention of returning to work again in the future. So you've met your preservation age and you've permanently retired. That's a condition of release. The second is you cease employment on or after turning 60. So you can also access your funds from 60 onwards if you leave your employer and go and work elsewhere, whether it's full-time, part-time, or casual. Okay, so that's one that a lot of people don't know about. So that's when you cease an employment arrangement on or after turning 60. And the last condition of release is that you turn 65. So upon your 65th birthday, you have full access to your super regardless of your working status. So whether or not you're working. Please note, however, this does not apply to defined benefit accounts. So defined benefits are a little bit different. And if you are in a defined benefit, I definitely suggest reaching out to us to speak to us in detail about that account. Once you've reached your preservation age, you also have the option of setting up a transition to retirement income stream. However, again, if you're in a defined benefit account, it's definitely worth having a chat with us because there's some rules around that and to see if there's actually something that you can do. Now, this allows you to use your super to supplement your income, reduce the amount that you're working, or as a tax minimization strategy. And we'll go into this a little bit more a bit later on. So how much tax are we likely to pay if we were to take funds out of superannuation? There are two main components to your super, a component that's taxable and a component that is tax-free. Withdrawals from super come out of these tax components proportionally. Now, the tax-free component is always tax-free, as tax has already been paid on that money on the way in. The taxable component may be taxed depending on your age at the time of your withdrawal. Now, if you take out a lump sum payment between preservation age and 59, it is tax-free for the first $245,000, with amounts over $245,000 taxed at 17%, which includes the Medicare levy. If you choose to open an income stream, also known as a pension account, between your preservation age and 59, the regular payments are taxed at your marginal tax rate with a 15% tax offset. Once you reach 60, withdrawals from both of these components are tax-free. So that's something to keep in the back of your mind. 60 is a bit of a magical number with super. So once you're over the age of 60, when any contributions come out or payments come out of superannuation, they are all tax-free. It's important to note that both the tax and the tax-free components will still exist when over 60, and there could be potential tax impacts on your death benefit regardless of your age. So that's another great reason to speak to a financial advisor like Callum. When in an accumulation stage and in a transition to retirement pension product, investment earnings can be taxed up to 15%. When you open an income stream, however, there's no tax on the earnings, so the earnings become tax-free. As it sounds, it can get a little bit complex, which is why it's often a really good idea to seek personal financial advice before proceeding, to know what's right for you and to understand how this tax may impact you. So, what is transition to retirement? Probably the question we want to know more about today. So income stream products within Brighter Super are called pension accounts, designed to give you an income in retirement. Let's have a look at how a transition to retirement pension account, also known as a TTR, works in more detail. So as you're still working, your employer continues to put money into your accumulation account. Members can open a transition to retirement account or TTR pension account when they have met their preservation age, but not met a full condition of release. By doing this, it is important to remember that if you are below the age of 60, there may be some tax payable on this money. Many members choose to set up a TTR once they reach 60, as income from their super is tax-free. Now, a transition to retirement account can supplement your income leading up to retirement or help you reduce the amount of tax you pay whilst increasing your retirement savings. You could use a transition to retirement pension account to work less. So this is where someone can cut back on hours at their work and use their transition to retirement income to supplement their loss of salary from work. And typically that's the main reason that transition to retirement accounts were created back in, I think it was 2005 or something, a long, long time ago now. However, you can also use a transition to retirement account to reduce tax and increase super. So if you are age 60 or over, you can receive tax-free income from a transition to retirement account, as we've mentioned. At the same time, you can salary sacrifice some of your salary into your accumulation account, subject to the concessional contributions cap, which is a big consideration there, where it will be taxed at 15% on entry to the fund. So you could effectively pay 15% tax on the portion of your salary that you contribute to super, rather than the tax rate you currently pay when you receive this money as salary, known as your marginal tax rate. This salary can also be used if you have reached preservation age, but if you are still under 60, some tax may be payable on your pension income. So just be mindful that there may be tax payable on that income if you're under 60. Another reason that someone might use a transition to retirement account is to reduce debt. So they might still work full-time at their employer, but they want to take funds out of their transition to retirement account to pay down any debts that they may have in the lead up to retirement. And lastly, estate planning. So a TTR or transition to retirement can assist with future estate planning needs. And remember, if you decide to access your super prior to retirement, you need to consider the impact this may have on your future superannuation balance and retirement lifestyle. Okay, so you are biting into your retirement nest egg before you are fully retired. So that's a consideration as well. We recommend talking to a financial advisor to ensure that this will meet your personal objectives both now and the future. So let's have a little look at how to set up these transition to retirement accounts. So you do need a minimum of $20,000 to start a Brighter Super transition to retirement account. You can choose from a range of investment options ranging from lower to higher risk, and there are single asset classes and diversified investment options available to you as well. Next, you need to decide how you'd like to receive your income. It's currently a minimum of 4% and a maximum of 10% that you can draw from your transition to retirement account, which is recalculated on the 1st of July every new financial year. Payments can be made fortnightly, monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, or annually based on your needs. If you are still working and your employer is still making contributions on your behalf, you may be required to retain your accumulation account. If you are retaining your accumulation account, you must leave the required minimum balance in your accumulation account, which is currently $8,000. Once you let us know you have stopped working or you turn age 65, you have therefore met a full condition of release. Your account will be a full pension and there will be no more withdrawal limits will not apply. So that limit of 10% maximum will no longer apply once you've either met a condition of release or you have reached the age of 65 because you are eligible for a full access to full superannuation at that point. And for defined benefit members, it is a bit more complex. So talk to one of our Brighter Super team through a Super Health Check if you'd like some more information. You will be given this opportunity later on in today's presentation to go ahead and book yourself in. Now, let's have a look at how a transition to retirement income stream may work for a member. So we have Shane here. Shane is currently 60 years of age and looking to ease his way into retirement. He has spoken to his employer and he's looking to reduce his working hours to 3 days per week. Shane also needs to maintain a similar level of income that he currently has to make this work. So Shane gets some financial advice and decides to set up a transition to retirement account, which will allow him to draw tax-free income from his superannuation as he's over the age of 60. Now, generally speaking, Shane may be able to maintain a similar level of after-tax income while also being able to reduce his working hours. Now, remember, everyone's situation is different, so we recommend to seek personal financial advice on what is best for you. So what about when you're ready to start your retirement? Then what? So if you are considering retirement, a pension account may be an option for you. People retire at different ages for different reasons. Some leave the paid workforce early due to ill health or because they have money to do so, while others continue to work long after they can access their superannuation. Once you've reached preservation age and met a condition of release, you've got the option to access your super as a lump sum, as a pension, or as a combination of these two methods. Let's have a look here at how the pension account works in a little bit more detail. Now, if you'd like a regular income and want an investment that provides tax-free investment earnings, then the pension account gives you the flexibility to choose how much income you want and how often you want to receive it. It is important to remember that a pension account may be used if you have met your preservation age plus a condition of release or turned 65 and still working. So let's go through some of the reasons people open a pension account. This could be a member who is fully retired and wishes to now receive a regular income from their super. This also allows members to access lump sums to pay down debt, renovations, or that holiday they've been dreaming of for a while. Alternatively, you could have opened a pension account and gone back into the workforce. In this scenario, you may wish to retain your pension account, which pays you a regular income and has tax-free earnings. You can still use the extra income to assist with your living expenses and continue to draw down lump sums whilst also receiving a salary and superannuation guarantee payments from your employer into your accumulation account. Now, members who have reached 65 and are still working can also access a pension account to access tax-free regular income, lump sums, and enjoy tax-free earnings on their investments. To summarize the diagram, you can see you could be receiving income from both an employer and your pension account, along with superannuation guarantee contributions from your employer. It's also important to note that you can close a pension account and roll this back into an accumulation account should you not require the income from the pension account if your circumstances change? Like the transition to retirement product, if you're in a defined benefit, it can be a little bit more complex. So definitely have a chat with us, reach out to us and book in a super health check. So let's have a look at the process of setting up one of these pension accounts. For many members, a superannuation income stream is a convenient and tax-effective way to access their money. Remembering you must have reached your preservation age and met a condition of release to access your super. Now, to set up a pension account, step 1 is to set up your pension with a minimum of $20,000 with the current maximum transfer balance cap of $1.9 million as of the 1st of July 2024. So that's the maximum that you can put in. Step 2, decide how you want to invest your pension. You can choose your investment option strategy at any time, so you can change it as time goes on or leave it the same, completely up to you. Step 3, select the amount you wish to receive each year. This amount needs to meet or exceed the minimum drawdown amount, which is calculated each year on the 1st of July. So as an example, if you are between age 65 and 74, your minimum drawdown amount is 5% of your account balance per year. Okay, and they change as you get older. And step 4, select the frequency of your payments. So as I said, you can get fortnightly, monthly, quarterly, or annually payments, or biannually payments as well. So you've got full access to your super once you've retired. If you move money into an income stream, you must take out a certain amount each financial year. Now let's have a look at the minimum amount you need to withdraw per year. So as I mentioned, you are required to draw a minimum amount per year, and this increases over time. So the minimum depends on your age, as you can see in this slide. So for example, if a member who wants to establish an income stream with $100,000 is age 63, they must withdraw at least $4,000 each financial year. This minimum is recalculated each financial year on the balance on the 1st of July. And once established, a member may not add contributions under the federal government laws. So once you've met a condition of release, partial withdrawals may be made from the income stream at any point. But what you can't do is you can't add additional contributions or add additional payments into an income stream once it's been set up. Apart from the convenience of an income stream, there are also some tax concessions that may apply. So let's recap the ways in which you may access your superannuation when eligible. There are 3 account type options when considering moving into retirement. Here we go. Retain your current accumulation account. You've got investment options to choose from. You can make withdrawals and also contribute subject to contribution rules. There are tax concessions on preservation age prior to 60 and no tax on withdrawals after age 60. Investment earnings can be taxed up to 15%. So TTR, or transition to retirement, we've been chatting about. So this is where you can access your super as an income stream while still working. You've got investment options you can choose from, and you must withdraw a minimum between 4% up to a maximum of 10%. You cannot make a lump sum withdrawal from this account until you've met full condition of release, and investment earnings are taxed at 15% still in this option. And lastly, the pension account. So upon meeting conditions of release, including your preservation age or after age 65, you can draw income from from a pension account. The minimum withdrawal is required annually, which is based on your age, as we just discussed, and there is no maximum. So there's no maximum amount that you are capped at, unlike the transition to retirement account in this pension account. You are able to withdraw lump sum payments as well, and you also enjoy tax-free investment earnings. You can choose which option or which combination of options best suits your retirement. Personal advice can assist in helping your super last the distance. Brighter Super offers personal financial advice services to members, and we'll have more details on that shortly. For more information on transition to retirement and pension products, please visit our website. Under the resources, you will find a section on forms and info sheets where there is more information on both transition to retirement pension accounts and considering retirement info sheet. You may also find other useful documents here as well. Additionally, our product disclosure statement is a good place to find further detail about pension accounts. Now, I'd like to hand over to one of our great financial advisors, Callum. Callum will be taking you through some of the tools and calculators that we have available to help assist you in making decisions about your super. Thank you, Callum.
Thanks, Kelly, and good afternoon, everyone. The first thing that we'll look at is the investment risk profiler. And often when I'm talking to people about investment choice, I'm asked the question, what is the best way to invest my super? As you can probably imagine, there's no one single investment option or profile that would fit everyone. And in fact, there are a number of different things we should consider when choosing the right risk profile for you. And probably brings us to that first question is, what is a risk profile, you might ask? So a risk profile is an individual measure of how we feel about risk and return, keeping in mind that there's always that trade-off between these two. It takes into account your tolerance to market falls, as well as your investment timeframe and desired return outcomes. In a perfect world, we'd all like these high returns without any falls. However, generally speaking, the more risk you take, the better return you should expect over time. However, the greater chance of bigger swings in your investment returns as well. And just as an example, an aggressive investment is expected to generate a higher rate of return over the long term. However, it is also likely to fluctuate more during times of market volatility. What this means is that your investments may generate higher returns over time. However, it will generally lose more in those market dips and produce more frequent negative returns as well. A more conservative investment, on the other hand, is likely to have fewer negative returns overall and may not drop as far as an aggressive investment during those downturns. However, the trade-off for a less downside risk is that those returns are expected to be lower over the long term. Understanding your risk profile and your investment risks is important to help better prepare for market movements and make informed decisions. The risk of being invested outside your risk profile is that if you're invested too conservatively, you may be missing out on potential returns that you could have had. If invested too aggressively, on the other hand, you may see greater falls during market instability, more than you're comfortable with. But both these scenarios do not result in optimal outcomes. So it's important that you know where you sit. Excellent. So next, looking at the risk profiler questions. And as a starting point, you can find the investment risk profiler on Brighter Super website under the resources tab. There are 8 questions that ask how you feel about negative returns, what action you might take given market instability, and what your superannuation goals are. After answering each question, we'll provide you both with your result and some information about what type of investor you are based on those responses. When answering the questions, I would encourage you to consider the bigger picture, because when someone asks you how you feel about a negative return, we're all the same. None of us want to see a negative return. This, though, is where understanding and knowing your investment timeframes become relevant. So just as another example, if you're in your 40s and you're still at least 20 years away from being able to access your superannuation, a negative return may feel very differently from someone in their 60s and thinking about retiring in the next year or two. However, it's important to note that even if you're close to retirement, your investment timeframe may be longer than you think. Retirement isn't necessarily a line in the sand where you're no longer invested in super. You may choose to keep your money in super or move it to a pension account where it's still invested, but this can help fund your retirement over the next 20 or 30 years. So looking at the risk profile outcomes. So once you've completed the risk profile questionnaire, you'll be provided with information around your profile to help you make investment choice. It is important to note it does not provide a recommendation on where to invest your superannuation. It's just information to help you make that choice. So if you wish to receive some help on finding the best investment option for you, you can book an appointment with one of our intra-fund advisors. This type of advice included in your fund membership, and the initial conversation is usually done over the phone. It takes about 20 to 40 minutes. The advisor will do the same kind of process with you, asking you a series of questions to determine your risk profile, and that can be helpful. Is that they will tailor this to you and answer any specific questions for you about any kind of scenarios within those questions. Importantly, they'll also make a recommendation as to where to invest your superannuation based on the results of that risk profiler, and provide you with a statement of advice that provides you with the written resources to refer to that explains about the risk profile and investment mix that are recommended to you, as well as any changes to the investment fees as a result of this advice. This is a great opportunity to go to our next poll question. So, have you used any investment advice services before? Yes or no? Fantastic. So I think it's a really good outcome here. We've got roughly about 40% of us that have used the investment advice services before. So I think that's a really strong indication that people are using the resources to try and get advice to make sure that we are making informed decisions on how to invest our money, and probably a really good opportunity for those that haven't to look to book a meeting just to even discuss how they want to invest their money with their risk profiles. And for those that may not know, we offer a range of personal advice options suited to individual members' needs. If you're looking for specific information about making contributions or investment strategies, our inter-fund advice team can help. And there's no additional cost, as that is included in the cost within your administration fee within your Brighter Super. We also offer more comprehensive personal advice services, which we'll discuss a bit more in detail later in the presentation. Cool. So next slide is, how much may your super be worth? So really important question that is very common. So also on the website, we do have a tool that helps to model your retirement and how you're tracking towards your retirement goals. As with all modeling tools, it's based on metrics that can change over time, so we cannot use this as a matter of fact. However, it does help to provide with an estimate on how you're tracking and what will be achievable or might be achievable. Depending on what your level of assets are and how much you need to fund your desired retirement, you may want to invest some of your funds in lower level of risk. On the other hand, you may be at the opposite end and need to reevaluate your financial position, goals, or risk tolerance in order to meet your goals. For most people, we need to take on some risk to hit our long-term goals, and the retirement income calculator can help give you a better idea of that. There's an option to toggle between both your pre-retirement and post-retirement investment options, so you can play around with what kind of difference that can make to your retirement income. If you're getting close to retirement, particularly if you're already over the age of 60, it may be worth getting in touch with a financial advisor to discuss some pre-retirement strategies that may assist you with meeting your retirement goals. We're able to tailor your investments to your own individual situation and ensure that you're taking on the right steps and finding that balance between risk and return. There are two types of advice that may be beneficial to you. Our scaled advice offering is a personal financial advice about your retirement within Brighter Super. Fees will vary depending on the type and complexity of the personal advice you require. And you may be able to deduct a portion of your fees from your Brighter Super account. Topics include things such as retirement adequacy, commencing a Brighter Super account-based pension, transition to retirement, and determining Centrelink entitlements. And these appointments are done over the phone. Another type of advice is called comprehensive advice. This provides advice to members and non-members about superannuation and retirement strategies, both of Brighter Super and other superannuation funds. The advice can include your spouse, who may hold their super with a different fund. Advice can also be provided on external investments outside superannuation. This type of advice is usually most helpful when you've reached your milestone birthday, like 60 or 65 or age pension, or starting to think seriously about retirement. For both scaled advice and comprehensive advice, there is an advice fee charged, which you may be able to deduct from your Brighter Super account, and I'll discuss this a bit later on. For further information on our advice services and what may suit you, visit the advice tab on our website. All right, thank you. I'll hand it back to you now, Callum.
Great, thanks, Callum. Now, to achieve your goal of comfortable retirement, there's some simple steps to take home from today's session. So let's think about what we are looking to achieve, and it all starts with a plan. So what are you looking to achieve and what's your goal? The purpose of superannuation is to give you an income in retirement. How will transition to retirement help you get there? And will it help you get there? And is that something you need to use? Next, we want to understand the tax considerations. If you're looking to set up a pension at or after 60, it's pretty simple in relation to tax on withdrawals. But what about salary sacrifice or estate planning considerations? There is personal advice that could be very valuable in this circumstance that you definitely want to reach out to and book in for. Next, we want to understand, by accessing your super now, will you be better off or worse off in retirement? So this obviously depends on your personal circumstances, as does everything in this presentation, and what your objectives are. And it brings us up to step 4, which is seek further help as needed. So to ensure you are on track, contact us and book in a super health check or arrange an appointment with one of our fantastic financial advisors. Now, there is a number of services available to our members, one of which is called our Super Health Check appointment. So what makes Brighter Super different to other superannuation funds? It's our commitment to personal advice. We have a dedicated team of member account specialists here to support you. If you'd like to talk to one of our staff one-on-one for more general information about your superannuation, why not book a Super Health Check? These are 15-minute appointments at no additional cost, and they cover a range of general topics about super. Our team service members all over Queensland, and face-to-face services as well as digital channels. So you can get some general guidance on a range of superannuation topics, no matter where you live or where you work. And once you've got the general knowledge, the next step is to get some tailored personal advice. So I'm going to hand back to Callum now to speak more about our personal financial advice offering and his team.
Thanks, Kelly. So just having a little look at, I guess, the different services that we offer. As discussed earlier, we offer a range of personal advice options suited to individual members' needs. So if you're looking for specific information about making contributions or investment strategies, our intra-fund advice team can help with that. It's an over-the-phone meeting. You can book at no additional cost. And two of the most common questions members ask as they're approaching retirement are, how much super do I need to retire? And do I have enough in super? The service that we have called a retirement health check can be booked with one of our financial advisors that can help to answer these questions. We also offer both scaled and comprehensive personal advice. This service takes a complete view of your financial situation to tailored advice to suit your individual needs. There's a face-to-face meeting with one of our advice team in Brisbane or various regions over Queensland. Appointments may be arranged also via digital channels if that's more appropriate for you. The cost will depend on the complexity of the advice, and the cost may be deducted from your Brighter Super accumulation account. It's never too early to start planning for retirement, so talk to us to find out how we can help, and I'll hand it back to you now, Claire.
Thanks again, Callum. So webinars like this one are a great way to get specific information on a variety of topics. This is not the only webinar that we have or we will be holding. So go to our website or scan the QR code on the screen to find out what is coming up. Make sure you check this page regularly, as we are often adding new dates and topics. If you registered for any webinars, regardless of whether or not you attend, you will receive a copy of the recording the day following the webinar, which is great. So we've tried and answered your questions throughout the webinar today. Hopefully some of your questions have been answered in what we've chatted about, but I'll invite Callum and Pete back on screen to ask any questions we couldn't get to in the Q&A chat. I'll also just mention during the Q&A chat, I will just revert back to the Super Health Check slide to give you all additional time should you wish to book an appointment with us.
Excellent. Thank you, Kelly, for the presentation. I really did find that interesting, particularly around those release conditions and being able to access your super while you are still working. We've had plenty of questions come through during the presentation, and we've got some of our pre-submitted questions here as well. But before we do start this Q&A, I do just want to give another general advice warning, because it is really important to understand that similar to your webinar, the information and the examples we're going to be talking about in this Q&A are general in nature, and we're going to be answering them without taking into account anyone's individual objective, situation, or their needs. Several questions submitted through the webinar have been answered, but one that came through I thought you might want to answer, Kel. We've had a few people asking. A defined benefit account. Can you start a transition to retirement account if you have a defined benefit account?
Yeah, great question, Pete, and one that comes up a lot. So for people with defined benefit accounts, usually you do have an accumulation account as well, potentially for any additional contributions that you've put into superannuation or any other rollovers you'd had from potentially other superannuation funds. So if you do have that accumulation account and you do have enough in there to set up a transition to retirement account, you can use that account to do so. However, if you are still working at the same employer and you've got that defined benefit that receiving contributions from that employer, that defined benefit needs to continue to stay in the defined benefit and wouldn't be able to be accessed for the sake of a transition to retirement account. In saying that, I always suggest anyone who has a defined benefit and wanting to talk about retirement planning to seek personal financial advice to see if there's any other better ways for your personal circumstance.
Yeah, for sure, Cal, I'd agree with that. Anyone who has a defined benefit account, it is a particular type of account. So if you do have any questions around anything to do with your DB, please contact the fund directly. Callum, another one I've been trying to, I guess, choose the questions that we've received the most of. And it seems like a lot of people saying, I want to retire in the next 6 months, so I need help with the process. How can you help? Callum, this is something you do many times a week.
Yeah, exactly. I guess that's really the point of personal financial advice. And I guess one of the key points there is everyone's retirement, everyone's current situation is a little bit different. So really what it's about is sitting down with a financial advisor, understand your goals and objectives, really starting to understand, I guess, what do we need financially to achieve those different goals and objectives, and then kind of working backwards to understand what are our current resources that we have to fund those different goals and objectives. We'll work through that with a financial advisor, understand what we need to do from a strategic perspective, and then give you an advice document to tell you how you can do it, what's achievable, what's not achievable. So it's really about ensuring that you're making informed decisions moving into that next phase. Excellent.
Thanks, Callum. And again, something a few people have asked us, Kelly, for you, maybe this one. So is there any tax payable on a super pension if someone has retired, but then they go and do some, say, part-time or casual work after they've retired?
Yeah, so as long as they're over the age of 60, any payments that are paid out of their superannuation is always tax-free. So 60 is that magical number that we kind of keep in the back of our head. If you go back to work, just be mindful that any contributions that go into your account will come into an accumulation account. So that is different or separate from the pension account. Again, if you're over the age of 60 and you want to take funds out of that accumulation account, you absolutely can, tax-free after the age of 60. But just be mindful it's in a slightly different account. So, yeah.
Excellent. And Callum, I think another one I've got for you. So 57, paid the house off, wondering if I would be able to retire earlier than age 67. Is this possible with a good super balance?
So once again, it is a little bit subjective depending on what you want to do and what that kind of next phase looks like for you and based on what you currently have right now. But because I guess in that kind of scenario, we are a little bit away from, I guess, that kind of retirement date. The service that we've recently introduced is this retirement health check. And what this is really designed to do is just to give members and clients a little bit of an idea of how they're tracking and just getting a bit of a line in the sand. So I guess in that type of scenario, Pete, what it might look at is based on those kind of goals, those objectives that the client might know about, are they on track to retire at 67 or might be even an earlier date? So really just giving them that understanding of how they're tracking. And then on the back of that, if they wanted to get some personal advice on how to achieve that more specifically, we can also offer that through comprehensive advice as well.
Yeah, retirement health check. It's a fantastic new offering from Brighter Super. Just before we go back to Kel to wrap this up, plenty of people asking, how can they book advice? How can they book a super health check? You will all get an email tomorrow following this webinar, and it's actually going to have the ability for you to book contact with Brighter Super through that email. So anybody who is wanting to get in touch with us, talk more about what they've learned today or things that we have not been able to cover, you will have the opportunity to actually reach out to Brighter Super and book a complimentary super health check when you receive the email as well. We do have to keep this to the 45 minutes, so I think I'm going to hand back to Kel to wrap up this webinar.
Perfect. Thanks, Pete. Well, thank you all again for taking the time to come along and attend our webinar today. One last question before we bring things to a close. Overall, how satisfied were you with today's webinar? We just love to get feedback, obviously, from you all. So we really appreciate you putting that through. So thank you again so much for attending today's webinar. Please reach out to us if you'd like some further information, and we really hope to speak with you all soon. Thank you.
Thank you.